everyone. Hello, hello. Akin, Nicole, Austin, Sean, Alberto, Dana, Amanda, Richard, thank you all for joining me. Darina, Andreas, I'm so happy you are all here with me early this morning, this Monday morning. For me, it's a sunny day in Northern California, in sunny Sacramento. I'd love to know where you folks are tuning in from. Cody Bear, hello. Cody B, what's up? What's up, Cody? Cody's a rapper now. I don't know if you guys caught that, but she's been a rapper for about 7 minutes. It's the beginning of her career, and she's doing very well. Hello, Eric. Hello, William. It's good to see all of you folks this morning. For those of you who don't know, my name is Voodoo Val, and I am going to be your host this morning for the Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Very excited to jump in to what I have planned for all of you folks this morning. But before I do, I'd like to tell you how you can get involved in the challenge and participate with me and join the community. So if you folks head over to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop, it will bring you to this page. And basically what you can get here is a little step-by-step of how this works. Basically each day you will receive a challenge. As you can see, a lot of the challenges have been unlocked so far. We did a layers challenge, a color challenge, a filters challenge, a brush challenge, and today we're going to be using Liquify and a few other filters, which I'm very excited about. Our loose theme for this challenge, round of challenges, has been farming RPG or role-playing games. So if you guys are fans of games like Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon and Animal Crossing, these are definitely the challenges for you. But keep in mind, if that's not really your cup of tea, if you're not really a gamer or you don't really like farming RPGs, you do not have to theme your projects on that. It's just kind of a loose, fun theme that I wanted to give to the challenges to keep people inspired and motivated to add a little bit extra to their challenges. So again, join this page, behance.net/challenge/Photoshop to get all of the information you need. All of the challenges have a starter file that I have prepared for you, which you can get if you hit get started on each of the challenges. You can also hit watch video if you would like to come back and watch the broadcast that I did for each challenge so that you can follow along with me, or just review and go over any concepts that maybe were a little too fast for you, or maybe even just to reference later if you're going to use one of these techniques in a project of yours. So the last thing before we jump in that I want to show is the Discord. This is the Photoshop Discord, which you can actually find if you go here, bit.ly/PS Discord, making sure that P and that S are capitalized, will bring you to the Discord, which I will show you here. Essentially, you can come through here. This is the current challenge page, and this is where everyone is putting in their challenge entries. This is just amazing, by the way. The last challenge we did was an illustration challenge where I supplied some line art to you folks to paint in, and this is amazing. Crow-a-fant, I honestly, I don't know. This is like some kind of strange chimera, I guess, and I love every bit of it. This is amazing. This from Tunk Budak. I hope I did not butcher that name, but thank you very much, Tunk, for joining me in this challenge and posting. Now, what I'm going to do is I am going to return to this Discord, and I'm going to go through a bunch of these challenge entries because you folks have been killing it. Look at this. Abihu posted this. I assume this is for our pixel sorting challenge, and that just looks amazing. All of these people did so well with their illustrations and their paintings. More pixel sorting from Carrie. This looks fabulous. You guys have done such a wonderful job, but I do want to make sure that I have time to jump into our challenge for today because there are a lot of steps to it and I want to make sure I can cover everything. So I will return to this shortly. Let me scroll down here. But let's jump into what I have planned for today. So if you hit that, the Get Started button on the challenge page, you will actually get this file that I have created for you. So this file, it says challenge number 5, use the shape tool line or brush tool to add elements to a portrait, like the example below, and try creating unique effects with the Liquify tool. And so basically what I have created here is I've created a little scarecrow to protect my my magical farm. That's what I wanted to do today. That's how we're implementing that theme. I wanted to make a little scarecrow that will basically keep the crows away that we illustrated in the last challenge that I did. So I'm going to show you guys how I made this image. It's actually a collection of images that not only did I use Liquify to alter, but I also used some of the other filters to make a bunch of parts of different photographs look like they belong in the same area. And I'm going to show you how I did that. So here are my my files. I've got this beautiful woman here with a nice pleasant smile on her face. I've got this other beautiful woman in a pair of nifty overalls that I liked quite well. And then I've got this pretty fabulous hat, which I thought kind of looked like a farm hat if one distorts it heavily enough. And then I have this background file that I have created. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new layer here. I'm going to say Control-Shift-N to create a new layer. And I'm going to start dropping in all of my files and sort of hacking them to pieces and then recombining them. So I'm going to grab my overalls girl here. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to right click over here on my magic wand tool to open this folder, and I'm going to grab the object selection tool. Now if you don't see the magic wand tool, or you don't see the object select tool, it might be because you have quick selection selected. All you have to do is select one of those here by right clicking it, and it will open the file or the folder for you so you can select more selection tools in there. And if you do have the object selection tool selected, all you have to do is press W on your keyboard to use the hotkey to select. So I'm going to grab this portion of this woman that I like pretty well. Honestly, I think that selected it pretty darn good. I am going to grab my lasso tool with L by pressing L on my keyboard, or I can come over here to my sidebar and select it from my sidebar. And I am also going to add to this selection. I'm going to hold Shift, and when I hold Shift, it adds that little plus symbol to my lasso tool, which means I'm adding to my current selection. And I am going to just select the neck here because I do want the neck added into my selection. I'm going to zoom in here because it's not as clean as I want it. I'm going to hold the Alt button, and you can see the minus symbol appears next to my selection tool, and that just means that I am now subtracting from my current selection. All right. So I have that, and in other instances I might spend the time to make this a little cleaner, but I don't think I need any more than this. And yes, just so everybody knows, I do realize that I don't have this other arm selected. We have one arm that I'm going to duplicate. I don't think I need this other arm. So with this selected, all I'm going to do is say Control-J to duplicate that selection, and then I'm going to select this layer over here, and I'm going to drag it over to my current file that I'm working on and drop it in there. Again, this is going to kind of look like nightmare fuel for a little bit, similar to how one of our other challenges looked pretty nightmare fuel-ish for a while, but fear not, it gets better from here, I promise. So I'm going to drop this in here just like that, and I'm going to actually, let's see, I'm going to pull this up here where I can see it, and I'm going to come over here with my lasso tool, and I'm going to select this arm. I'm going to duplicate it with Control-J, and then I'm going to say Control-T to free transform. I'm going to right click it, flip it horizontal, and I'm going to come over here and just put this other arm like so. I'm going to tilt it around, and it looks a little odd, but once we put the filters on here, it won't look so odd. I'm gonna go like that. That's good enough for me right there. And I'm going to put it underneath so that it doesn't overlap that sleeve. I'm gonna group these together by selecting all of the layers that I want to group together. And I'm gonna hit Control-J, and I'm gonna call this body. So now this is all grouped together. I'm gonna Control-T to free transform. I'm gonna make it a little bit larger, and I'm going to bump it down and kind of orient it like that. So now, for all we know, it's supposed to be like this, and this character has her hands on her hips. All right. Now we have that. So now we have to grab a head. So let's come over here to this lovely young woman here, and I'm going to grab her face. I'm going to select like this. I'm using my lasso tool just to select around her face, like so. Boom. Just like that. I'm going to subtract from the selection a little bit here and here. All right. And I think that that will work for me. So I'm going to hit the same thing that I did before. I'm going to go Control J to duplicate. I'm going to grab that layer, drag it over to my file, drop it in here. Nightmare fuel right now, guys, but bear with me. I'm going to make her head just slightly larger. Like so. And you know, I think we actually need a little bit more neck. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to create more neck. I'm literally going to go between, actually underneath all of these layers. And I am going to grab my brush tool. I'm going to sample this color that her neck is from her image. And I'm just going to put some color there. Bear with me. Bear with me. It gets better, I promise. I promise it gets better. This is basically a method I use when I know that I want to do something kind of like compositing, but I don't have a lot of images that work super, super well together. This is basically how I composite things together, and then I'm going to put a filter on this to make it look like it all belongs. Maybe I will make her head slightly smaller. I think that will work for me right there. Okay. Now we're going to grab the hat, and the hat is going to kind of make up the rest of her head that is missing. So I'm going to grab my object selection tool. I'm going to drag my box over just like that, and I'm going to hit Control J to duplicate. I'm going to come over here to my file, and I'm going to drop in this little hat. I'm actually going to turn my layer on a lower opacity so that I can see through it. And I'm going to make this smaller. I think that that works like that. Maybe I will distort and drag this out like so. And I think that that works pretty well right there. I'm going to go to my layer that my girl's face is on, and I'm going to hold Control and click that image because it's going to select around anything that is on that image by doing that. I'm going to come back to my hat layer, turn the opacity all the way up, and then I'm going to look at this for a moment. I'm going to say, okay, I definitely want this portion here in the center to be removed from her face, but I do not want this top portion of the bill and top of the hat removed because I do want this to look like the hat is sitting on her head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my lasso tool again. I'm going to hold my Alt key to subtract from current selection, and I'm just going to select around this portion like that. And take this bill selection out. And then there's a lot of ways that you can do this. You could mask this out. You could do whatever you want. For the sake of time, I'm simply going to cut this portion out of the hat. And I'm going to do that with Control X, like so. So now it kind of looks like she's wearing this hat. Like she's got her little overalls on and she's wearing the hat. But we've got to do a little bit more to this image. So first of all, I'm going to come in. I'm going to actually group everything together. I'm clicking on my topmost layer and holding Shift and then clicking on my bottommost layer to select all of them. And then I'm going to say Control G. I'm going to call this Scarecrow. And then I'm going to transform and I'm going to bump this down like that. So now she just looks like a happy, strange woman with no ears. Now here's where the Liquify tool comes in. So what I'm going to do is I am going to grab a color that I think looks kind of like straw and make a new layer. So I'm going to sample maybe this color from the hat. And I'm going to come in and I am going to color in an area like this around both sides of her head, because if you've ever seen a scarecrow, and for those of you who don't know what a scarecrow is kind of like a fake person. It's like you would take an outfit of clothes, like overalls or like jeans and a button-up shirt, and stuff it full of straw so that it looks like a person. And then you would hang it up in a field of corn or other vegetables or something on your farm, and it looks like a person. Some people hang bells from them so that when the wind blows, it makes noise, and it basically scares off some of the farm pests that might seek to destroy some of your crop, because they think that a human farmer is walking around when they are not. I've got this kind of hair portion, a straw portion put in here, and it's literally just a scribble. But now what I'm going to do, I actually might make this a little bit darker. I'm going to change my color by hitting Control U to open up my hue and saturation. And I'm going to make this a little bit darker and a little bit more saturated. Maybe a tiny bit more on both of those, like so. I think that's good. So I'm going to say okay to that, and then I'm going to open up my Liquify panel. So I'm going to come up here to filter, and then I'm going to go down to Liquify, or if I do Control Shift X, it will open up the Liquify panel. And this is going to open up a little panel here that basically shows me what's on that layer, and I can manipulate it. So I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to use my stylus, but you can use your mouse. With the smudge tool selected up here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to start dragging this out, because I want this to look like straw, but maybe or maybe you are, somebody who doesn't really illustrate, and drawing straw on a character is not really an option. This is kind of a cool way to manipulate an image and make it look the way that you want without actually having to illustrate anything. And it looks a little wonky, it looks a little basic now, but we are going to add another layer of straw to this, and it's going to start looking pretty darn cool, if I do say so myself. So we're getting that in. I'm trying to keep an eye on time here because this is a kind of a hefty challenge today. But now I've kind of added some texture, and I've manipulated this into kind of looking more like hair, like a hair substance. And I'm going to say okay. And you can see, boom, it kind of adds like a hair texture. Now on another layer, I'm going to do a similar thing with a lighter color. I'm going to sample a lighter color from my hat here, because that's a pretty good way to find a useful color that works with this straw type vibe we're going for here. And I'm going to color in kind of another blob. I am, however, going to pay attention to like shadow here. So I am going to do like a hard line with my eraser here, so that it's only really showing like light is what I'm trying to simulate here, like lighter parts of this hay showing in the light. And then I'm going to go right back to Liquify. Let's see, there we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to zoom in here with my smudge tool, and I'm going to start dragging this out and making it look like, I think it looks like straw. If you had to make straw real quick and you're not an illustrator, I think you could do it this way. There we go. So we add like little straw portions, boom, boom. There we go. And I'm going to say okay. And then it adds kind of some straw texture. I might even actually free transform this and kind of drag that up just a little bit, like so. Now, the last thing is, this is all cool, but it kind of still looks like I just added some strange sideburns to a weird mismatch of photos. So the last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a darker color, and I'm going to just outline, maybe even darker than that. I'm going to just kind of go around the edge here of the hat and the hair, just to make it look like there is an obvious separation. And then I am going to apply another filter to all of this. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to select my group of scarecrow and my strange straw hair pieces. And I'm going to come in here, I'm going to group it together. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to right click that group and I'm going to say convert to smart object. And if I want to later on, I can actually right click this and I can also say convert to layers, and it will convert to a group with all of my layers still in it, so that I can come back and edit it later. And I'm going to keep all this together and I'm going to apply another filter to this. Let me make sure I'm keeping an eye on time here. So, okay, I'm going to come over to, let's go to filter gallery. Now with filter gallery, you guys have probably seen this before, with cutouts and all kinds of crazy stuff that you can do. You can do like paint daubs, which is kind of interesting. You can do film grain. There are so many different things that you can do. If you've ever seen people come in and make an image in Photoshop look like it was sketched, this is a great way to do that. But I think I might actually go for cutout, because I think it looks, now all of a sudden my image kind of looks like it was meant to be this way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the number of levels to find which best suits my project. 8 levels could do it. I actually don't think I like 8 levels. Let's try and see what it looks like on 6. 6 is not really enough detail. Maybe I'll leave it on 7. 7 looks pretty good to me. You can change up the edge simplicity, meaning the simplicity of the edges of all these pieces. See, if I crank up the simplicity, these shapes become very simple. And if I crank it down, then they have a lot more detail once that renders out, like so. But I am gonna crank this up a little bit. I am gonna leave this and make this all pretty simple. And then you can change edge fidelity if you like to. It's really up to you what you do. And I'm going to go ahead and say that that is good enough for me. So it kind of adds this texture. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to right click it and create a clipping mask. I'm going to sample this color in her face here. And I am going to color in the parts of the skin that did not belong to the same woman. If you're wondering what a clipping mask is, it's something that I use very often in these challenges and in my own workflow. And basically what it does is every single thing I'm painting on my layer now that it is a clipping mask above my scarecrow layer, it's basically only adhering to the borders of what is on the layer just below it. So I can color in her arms without having to worry about staying in the lines. And I'm going to add a color blend mode to this. Boom. Just like so, and now it all looks super cohesive, like it was meant to be, like I illustrated this in this particular style. Now you can add more detail or less detail to this if you like. I'm pretty satisfied with this. If I had to choose one more thing to add, I would probably add maybe another tiny bit of texture, which I will do for you folks. I'm gonna grab this my favorite texture from True Grit Texture Co. I'm gonna drop this in here. I am going to transform this and make it larger, just to spread out through my whole canvas. And I'm going to simply put it on a blending mode like this. I'm going to go down the list of my blending modes just to add a little bit of texture, and I'm going to turn it on a lower opacity so that it's not totally washing everything out. And I might actually say Control I to invert the selection. There we go, and have kind of a brighter part here rather than that darker part. And then I've created kind of an illustration of a scarecrow. That's all I have for you today for this challenge. I can't wait to see what you folks create. Please, if you can, if you participated in the challenge with me, please come over here and click this little plus button on the Discord. Navigate to your folder where you have shared your scarecrow, and or where you have created your scarecrow and upload it. My file is a little large, so I will resize and upload in a little bit. But share it, and then come through here and look at all of these amazing challenge entries. I'm going to spend some time going through them and giving you folks some feedback today. I can't wait to see all of the things you've created. This crow elephant is killing me right now, and I love it. And this MK Emporium alpaca is just, it's got my heart. I feel it in my soul. This pink cotton candy alpaca is beautiful. That from Ellen Slacks. Great job. But thank you all so much for joining me. I can't wait to see what you folks create. And please stay tuned, because I am not the only one who is on stream today. There are a lot of wonderful designers coming up after me, and I will see you guys later today in the chat, and then again tomorrow for another Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge. Adios, everyone. Happy designing.